Okay, for this part, we will once again derive the equation of quadratic function given its graph, but this time we'll be using the integral x-intercept and any point of the parabola. So, kailan to ginagamit? So, madalas ginagamit tong condition na 'to kung sakaling ang vertex mo is not integral or kung makikita mo dito sa lowest point ng ating parabola na given dito sa taas is etong point na 'to hindi natin try i-identify ng eksaktong value ng h tsaka ng k niya pagdating sa vertex. So in that case, we will look for other points, and if the given graph will show you the x-intercept or 2x-intercept on this given graph. So, pwede natin gamitin yon. So, pag meron dalawang given na x-intercept, pwede itong way na gagawin natin ngayon. So, here are the steps. We have to identify the x-intercepts or zeros from the graph and then set them as x sub 1 and x sub 2. So, that's the first step. Second, is for us to substitute this x sub 1 and x sub 2 to this form of the quadratic function y is equal to a times the quantity x minus x sub 1 times the quantity x minus x sub 2. So, bakit yan yung form na gagamitin natin? Ito ay dahil this x minus x sub 1 times x minus x sub 2, those two forms are considered as the factors of a quadratic function. And that is coming from the x-intercept and zeros of your given parabola or of your given graph of quadratic function. So, yun yung gagamitin nating parang formula for us to identify the equation of the quadratic function given this graph. Next, number 3. Once again, we'll try to identify one point, xy, from the graph and substitute it as x and y value to the equation. Step 4, solve for the value of a and substitute it to the equation y is equal to a times the quantity x minus x sub 1 times the quantity x minus x sub 2. So, step 5, once again, for the last part, once you simplify the equation above, all you need to do is to transform this into a quadratic function in general form. Y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c. So, para mas maintindihan natin to, let's try to have some examples. Example number 1. So, once again, determine the quadratic function y is equal to ax squared plus bx plus c represented by this given graph. So, as you can see, dun sa first step na diniscuss natin kanina, all we have to do is to identify the x-intercepts. So, ito, x sub 1 tsaka x sub 2. So, dapat dalawa yung ma-identify natin. This given graph, ito kung makikita nyo, yan, ito yung ating x-intercepts. So, that will be the point negative 2, 0 and positive 1, 0. So, sulat lang natin dito. Kung i-consider natin dun sa point, x coordinate lang, di ba, ang ating x-intercept. So, consider lang natin si negative 2 tsaka si positive 1. Next, we are to substitute this x sub 1 and x sub 2 on this form. So, blankoan ko lang dyan sa part ng sulat natin yung x sub 1 tsaka x sub 2. Kopyahin natin. This one, lagay natin negative 2. Yan yung x sub 1 natin. And dito is positive 1. Ito naman yung x sub 2 natin. So, as you can see, negative times negative, yan, pwede na natin itong gawing instead of x minus, magiging siyang x plus. Now, the next step is for us to substitute a point on the parabola xy. So, hanap muna tayo dito ng point, any point on this given parabola. So, tingin ko gamitin natin tong point na to. So, this point is 0, negative 2. So, sulat lang natin dito, xy. So, yan si 0, negative 2. So, in this case, all we need to do is to substitute it as the values of x and y on this given equation above. So, ito yon yung may y kanina at ito yung nasa taas, dalawa yung x natin. So, papalitan natin tong y natin ng negative 2 kasi ang point natin is 0, negative 2. And then, itong dalawang x natin, papalitan natin siya ng 0. So, 0. Now, as you can see, ang matitira na lang dito sa equation natin na to ay a. So, yan ang gagamitin natin for us to solve for the value of a. So, as we continue, copyin lang natin yan. Ayan o, negative 2 is equal to a times 0 minus 2, ay 0 plus 2 times 0 minus 1. So, Yan. Solve muna natin. -2 is equal to a times 0 plus 2 is 2. Then 0 minus 1 is -1. Multiply natin yan dalawang yan. So, copying ko muna -2. A times 2 times -1 is -2. Yan. So, here we will be having, yan, continue natin dito sa gilid. -2 is equal to a times -2 is -2a. Therefore, we can divide both sides by -2. Yan. So, a is equal to +1. So, ayusin lang natin, reflexive property of equality. A is equal to +1. Now, in this case, we will use this value of a and try to rewrite this form once again. But in this time, papalitan na natin si a. So, ito yung form kanina. Y is equal to a times x plus 2 times x minus 1. So, andito yung a kanina. So, papalitan na natin yan yung a ngayon ng 1. So, pwede na hindi natin isulat yan si 1 kasi multiply man natin siya dun sa product ng x plus 2 tsaka x minus 1. Ganun pa rin naman. So, we can just write it as x plus 2 times x minus 1. Now, in this case, all we need to do is to do FOIL for it to be in general form. So, y is equal to x times x is x squared. X times -1 is -x. 2 times x is positive 2x. Then 2 times -1 is -2. Then all we need to do is to add these two similar terms. We will now have y is equal to x squared. -x plus 2x is plus x na lang. Yan. Plus x, then minus 2. So as you can see, yan na, lumabas na yung sagot dito. So the answer will be y is equal to x squared plus x minus 2. Okay, let's have this second example. So once again, we are to determine the quadratic function in general form. So from the given, we have the parabola opening downward. But yes, in this case, pwede kang gumamit ng vertex kasi integral yung vertex dito. Pero try naman natin siyang sagutan ng gamit yung x-intercept. So step number 1, identify the x-intercept of this given graph. So in this case, ito yon, kung saan siya tumama sa x-axis. And these points are -1, 0 and +3, 0. So all we need to do is to identify the x-intercept by getting the x-coordinates of those 2 points. So I have x sub 1 as -1 and x sub 2 as +3. Yan. As we proceed, we'll try to substitute that x sub 1 and x sub 2 in this form. So, lagay lang natin yan since x sub 1 will be -1 and x sub 2 is +3. So, lagay lang natin sila dyan. But in this case, minus -1. So, pwede natin tong palitan ng +1 na siya. Yan. So, as we continue, we'll try to get any point of this given graph for us to substitute later. So, kuha muna tayo ng point. Saan kaya yung pwede dito? Yan. Try natin tong vertex. Pwede rin yan magamit. Point pa rin naman siya sa parabola. So, that point on the parabola will be 1, +4. So, lagay lang natin dito, xy, 1, then 4. So, as we continue, gagamitin natin once again itong form na to. But in this time, papalitan natin yung x tsaka y value niya. So, andito yung y kanina, then andito yung dalawang values ni x. Yan. So, palitan natin yung y ngayon. Since we get 1, 4 as 1 point on the parabola, we'll replace this 1 by 4. And yung dalawang x, papalitan natin ng 1. Yan. So, as we continue, we'll try to use this given equation or yung nagawa nating equation para ma-solve yung value ni a. So, let's just copy that one. Yan. O, tama ba? 4 is equal to a times 1 plus 1 times 1 minus 3. Ayan, tama tayo. Now, as we continue, we'll try to have, copy muna natin to si 4, then a, 1 plus 1 is 2, then 1 minus 3 is -2. Yan. So, Simplify natin by multiplying 2 times negative 2. That will be negative 4. So, lagay natin dito. 4 is equal to a times negative 4. That will be negative 4a. Yan. Then, right now, we can divide this both by negative 4. Yan. Negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1. Then 4 divided by negative 4 is negative 1. So, a is equal to negative 1. So, pwede natin siya isulat na ganyan. Yan. In this case, yan, alam natin na it's opening downward. Kaya nga negative 1 yung A natin. So as we continue, we'll try to use this value of A for us to get the general form. So lalagay lang natin ulit yung na-solve natin kanina. Yung A natin dito, papalitan na natin ngayon ng negative 1. So since negative 1 na yung A natin, yeah, simplify lang natin to, multiply natin tong dalawang binomial, then we multiply negative 1 from the results. So, y is equal to negative 1 times, foil muna natin to, x times x is x squared, x times negative 3 is negative 3x, 1 times x is x, so plus x to, then 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. So, simplify na muna natin yung nandun sa loob. Negative 1, copy ulit natin, x squared, negative 3x times plus x pala. So, magiging negative 2x siya. Then, copy negative 3. Right now, we can distribute this negative 1 to get the final equation. We have negative 1. Negative 1 times x squared. We have negative x squared. Negative 1 times negative 2x. We have positive 2x. So, magiging plus 2x na siya. Negative 1 times negative 3, magiging positive 3 na siya. So, plus 3 na to. And our equation will now be y is equal to negative x squared plus 2x plus 3. So, yan siya. Y is equal to negative x squared plus 2x plus 3.